Hold on. Did you go live yet?
Yeah, I just did.
Uh,
So it's live right now.
all right.
So let me make sure everybody's straight. I'm looking good. She's looking good. You're looking good. This is Think It Out Loud podcast. It's your boy J Lip, TOL podcast. You already know what this is, and you know who I am in the building. This is our first try at this, and I want y'all to just have a little bit of mercy, a little bit of grace. We got three people on at the same time going in about Straight Out of Wakanda, about Wakanda versus everybody. We got the whole Black Panther plethora of topics that we're going to go through in this short period of time. So, without further ado, again, myself, J Lip, and then you have to my I'm gonna point. Nope, point this way. To my left, you got Mrs. Lip. Mrs. Lip was good, baby.
Hey, how are you?
Good. And then, of course, we got the big homie in the building. The big bro, G, the African. The one that can speak authentically to the source of the education and information that is dispelled in this film. What up? What up, G? What up, George?
What's going on, Janan?
Hey man, it's your boy J Lip. Once again, I hate correcting people. Y'all niggas, man, it's your boy J Lip. But anyway, we already got it popping. So let's get into it. Black Panther. What are your thoughts? What are you rated at? Let's go letter grade. Tony, I'm gonna start with you.
A plus plus plus.
A plus
Very
plus
good.
plus, meaning top 10, meaning 5 stars out of 5, meaning a hundred
Meaning,
percent.
I hope I get to go watch it again very, very soon. Meaning, I plan to own this eventually. Meaning, it was great. I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was a great movie.
Okay, all right. And then my man George. George, what did you think?
I thought it was a great movie. I agree. I would give it an A plus.
Just one
Definitely a movie
plus.
that's just an A plus. I mean, there's l-
George,
like
put your head in the camera. Stop stunting with the chest. Put your head, lift the camera up. Put your head in the camera.
yo yo. I don't have a fancy stand to put my phone on, so it's gonna be moving up and down.
That's fine.
But
Just
the movie was great. I would give it an A plus. It's definitely a movie that's going to be added to the collection. Got to buy it when it comes on DVD. It was huge. It was a great movie.
okay, so I'm going to break down the demographic that we have right here on the show. We have myself, a black American, born and raised Detroit, Michigan. Tony, shut up. Then we got Mrs. Lip in the building. Mrs. Lip, born in Texas, traveled around the world as an army brat, Germany, and some other places, but made her way back to Detroit, Michigan, where she needed to be to meet me, of course, so that we can get married. And then we got the big homie George, the true African in the building, who was born in Africa. However, and what part of Africa were you born in?
Ghana,
So you're Guyanese,
Ghanaian.
Ghanaian. Okay, thank you for that correction. That was terrible.
Jesus
Guyanese. I
Christ.
just can we get back on point?
No, but the what's her name? The girl from the movie, Shuri, the sister. She's from Guyana. She's Guyanese.
Okay, so what's the difference? Let's break that down real quick, just real quick. What's the difference between
Guyana is a
Guyanese and
country in South.
Guyanian?
Guyana is a country in South America. Ghana is a country in West Africa. Completely different continents. If you're from Guyana, you're Guyanese. If you're from Ghana, you're Ghanaian.
So you're Ghanaian.
Yes.
Okay, and then you also moved out from Africa to where?
From Ghana to Turks and Caicos.
Keep
Um,
going, keep going. Roll down the list. Hurry up. Come on.
yeah,
Turks and Caicos.
from Turks and Caicos to uh, Luton, England, and then from there to here, United States.
All right. And here is Columbus, Ohio, correct?
Right.
All right. So both of y'all gave the film an A plus, a 10 out of 10. Me personally, I know that I've perpetrated a fraud, and the reason why I know that is because Black Panther was a great Marvel comic film, but I would not be able to say this a 10 out of 10. It's a strong 9, maybe a 9.25, but it's not a 10 out of 10. And my reason for that is because there were some elements of the film and the storyline that were a little bit causing a gap for me as far as like understanding the history that brought us to where we are during the film, and kind of some open-endedness when it came to the ending moving forward. Now, when I talk about, kind of the history, I felt a little bit away about why does T'Challa and the old girl have a breakup? Why do they have this sexual tension, this relationship that they wish they could have had but they can't because she wants to be a spy and he wants to be the king? Hold on, video just went out on your
Uh-oh.
boy. Where the video at?
Uh-oh.
We can't do that.
We lost you, George.
George was good.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, we
My
back.
bad.
We back. All
I
right.
got a call.
So with that being said, that's where my issue is. It's strictly on the storytelling. It's not about what it represents. It's not about any type of lack or disrespect to black empowerment. But it just came to storyline stuff. Nitpicky. I gotta be honest.
I think nitpicky is definitely right. I
Oh,
definitely would agree that there was, their romance was not explained, but if anything, it makes me interested in seeing the next movie
okay.
because I feel like they're setting it up almost from the very very beginning of the movie to tell us about it later.
Okay.
So I didn't feel like it was a lack on this part of the movie. I think if anything, it just is building the excitement for the next movie.
Okay.
Right, and nothing, no movie is perfect. No movie is 10 out of 10. But I think maybe where me and Tony are coming from is if you look at the context of the whole movie and what they had to accomplish, you have to give it an A. I mean, you can nitpick, but like it's still a dope movie considering like within the context of what the movie was about and
Yeah.
and what it meant to the culture. You know what I
Well,
mean?
what did it mean?
Right.
What did it mean to the culture?
Having a superhero movie have a main characters that look like us, that are black. We don't have to
Mhm.
go through that barrier, that boundary of imagining ourselves as black before we can put ourselves in those shoes. I think is huge. Not just for people who are fans of Marvel, like me, but just little kids coming up, growing up, and things like that. It's huge.
Okay.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
agree?
it's been a long. I feel like it's been. I can't even think of one movie where you've had this many people of color, this many black people on screen, and we weren't all slaves.
Damn.
So
God
you
damn.
know,
Like,
I
I mean,
think it
that's
was
fact.
yeah, and it's about time that we had like an actual black protagonist who wasn't fighting the white man per se, was fighting for his people, was in a place of power, was defending his rights as the ruler of the land that belongs to his people. Like we haven't had a narrative of this in a black movie ever, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Okay. So
and to add to that too, like when was the last time you saw a movie where there's literally like what two main white people in the movie? Like normally it's the complete opposite, right? Where there's the token black guy,
I can tell you the
right?
last movie. The last movie was Birth of a Nation by Nate Parker,
Where what?
Yeah.
where he was in a predominantly black cast, and he played the part of Nat Turner leading the slave rebellion, which is a
Right, but
historically accurate.
that movie's about slaves. We're talking about a story that has nothing to do with that.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
well, the question was, when's the last time you seen a film like that? I'll just answering. If you're talking about categorically superheroes, then correct. The last time we've
Never.
seen a black superhero as the protagonist of the entire film was probably Blank Man, starring Damon Wayans, or Meteor Man, starring Robert Townsend. I might throw in there even Blade, starring Wesley Snipes. So we have had black superheroes.
So all of our black
I wasn't
superheroes are a
predominantly
joke.
like.
They're all a joke.
they were all they were not they were comedic films. This one
Yeah.
was what I would call like a major motion picture theatrical debut of something that
Right.
where you basically took a huge budget and you said we're going to start investing in this storyline. Like this isn't going to be the last. This is just the
Of
first
course
of
not.
many, in my opinion. You know, we were setting ourselves up. Marvel Universe. You know, it took us a minute to get here, but I'm glad we are, and I appreciate the film for what it was. If I had to grade it just off the strength of what it represented, then I'm with y'all on the 10 out of 10 piece. But I also want to kind of do a deeper dive into what did the film portray, or what did it convey rather, in terms of the undertones that were the messages that it was trying to explain, or it was trying to deliver to the audience, that may not have been as overt as they were subtle. And I want to throw that to you, George. What did you take away from that? Being from West Africa, being from Ghana, and basically being well traveled from there to here, what did you take away from the experience of being a patron in that type of environment, that audience, to see this type of film?
Um,
And when I talk about that again, it's the undertones. Like, what were the messages that you took away from it that were like, hmm,
well, let me start like this. I Part of my appreciation for the movie was the attention to detail.
okay,
You could tell that they did their research. Now, this is a movie. They only have about 2 hours to fit all this stuff in. So, if you remember at the beginning of the movie, they said there were five, major Wakandan tribes, and to me, what it seemed like they tried to do was give representation for some of the major tribes in Africa, like on the continent of Africa, representation through those tribes.
right,
Um, and I think they did it, beautifully. Costume design was dope. I mean, they blended, that modern African style with that traditional African style. Like some of the outfits that T'Challa was wearing, I see people wear like to events. So it's just like like this wasn't some made up thing. Like they did
Mm.
their research and it was legit. And then I was talking to a friend about this after seeing the movie yesterday, and I thought it was really interesting the scene uh, with Killmonger, which spoiler for anybody that hasn't
oh
seen
no,
it.
we yeah, spoiler. We statute of limitations. I asked social media is 7 days from the earliest premiere, which was last Monday, so we're good. Go ahead, spoil it all. Killmonger dies.
Oh
Oh,
my god! All right,
jeez.
so the scene where Killmonger says, "Ask me who I am," right? He doesn't come out and just say, "I am," whatever, son of whoever. You know what I'm saying? Like he he had to wait to be asked, and that's traditionally, like, at least from how we're raised and how I understand it, for most Africans, you don't speak unless you're spoken to. You don't
Mm,
answer questions unless you are addressed. You know what I'm saying? So it's
okay,
like
okay.
those little subtle things, uh, I definitely noticed, and it gave the movie more props, in my opinion, because he couldn't just come out and say, "I'm this of whoever," blah blah blah. It wasn't until one of the leaders said, "Who are you?" and then he blurted it out.
Right.
And
That's a great
and
point. That's a great acknowledgement too.
right, and things like that definitely, you know, showed me that they paid attention. They did their research.
So to you, Tony, as far as being an American black woman, how did you relate with the grievances that Killmonger had for representing basically an abandoned young black man in a society of which he truly does not belong nor fit into, but he struggled through to survive? Because to me, that was Killmonger's the crutch on his character was, y'all left me. I know about the
Hmm.
history. I know about Wakanda, but I'm here. and so I'm gonna make
Yeah.
the best of that situation. But y'all made me this animal, y'all made me this beast, y'all made me this monster, and now I'm gonna come and destroy everything that you have. Like, it wasn't even so much as destroy everything that Wakanda represented, but more so I'm
Yeah.
going to exploit and redistribute the power that you have because you held it away from me and people that
Sure.
look like me. So, what is your thought on that?
I mean, I definitely get it, and I think, I think the way that he felt was almost a representation of how Black people feel about, maybe Black people who feel abandoned, or Black people who are poor feel about Black people who have some inkling of wealth. They feel like, okay, well, you've made it, and all my brothers and sisters out here struggling. So, what are you going to do for us? How can we make it better for everybody? And I definitely understand that argument, and I think that was translated well in the movie. I mean, you definitely sympathize with him to a degree. I think his tactics made him an obvious villain in the movie, but it wasn't so much that you hated him. You didn't hate him. You felt bad for him, but understood, I think, from the beginning of the movie that there was no way he was going to be successful.
Okay.
There was no possible way. I mean, it's a superhero movie. We all know who's going to end up winning. So I think it was, I think it was well translated. I really did like that we didn't have a Black villain in this movie that was hated. I think it was just overall the entire movie was really well done. And I mean, I'm a Michael B. Jordan fan, so I'm glad he out here getting these checks.
Right.
What-
Hey,
Hey, I'm a Michael B. Jordan fan, a Chadwick Boseman fan. I'm a
Sure.
Lupita Nyong'o fan. Like, I'm a fan of
Nyong'o,
everybody.
Nyong'o.
Please,
Thanks for
please,
fixing.
please correct. Please, what did I say? Nyong'o?
But yeah,
And how do you say it?
can't mess with the most beautiful being on that screen.
Say the last
Yeah.
name again, bro, so I can correct myself.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Nyong'o. Okay, so
Yeah,
so I want to make sure I don't come across as the ignorant American Black that doesn't know how to pronounce the names of people who are a part of his heritage. So I'm just trying to clarify. So I appreciate you, George.
like the N and the Y go together. It just
Okay,
kind of
all right, didn't ask for that. What I was asking though, most importantly is, and I guess kind of like the final sentiment in this, because we're going to have a series on this topic. George is just the first guest. He may come back, but for now, he's just the first guest because I feel like it's important to get the perspective of someone who actually has the, and I, lack of better terms, no pun intended, tribal knowledge of what is culture outside of American Black, but that of international Black, international African to me, because it's more than just Africa. Like you've been in Africa, you've been in Europe, you've been in the States, so your perspective is highly valuable in regards to this film. And do you feel like you can understand the perspective, or do you understand the perspective of Killmonger? And to you, what are your thoughts? What was he a necessary antagonist? Was he justified in his intent? Like, what are your thoughts on the villain? Because it has been said, written, spoken, and talked about that he does, in fact, represent that of the typical and traditional American Black experience. And I'll even go further as to say that Chadwick Boseman has said on multiple interviews that he relates more to Eric Killmonger's character than he does to King T'Challa because he's an American Black from South Carolina.
right. So yes, I think that is the beauty in the characters that they chose,
Hmm.
or the direction they chose to go with the characters, because they're both they're relatable. So as from my perspective, yes, I can definitely, even if you didn't agree with Killmonger's methods, you understood where he was coming from. You
Okay.
understood why he was doing what he was doing, and with that, you were able to relate and sympathize through the anger. You know what I'm saying, that he was showing.
Okay.
So it's really interesting because T'Challa is he's the isolationist, right? He wants to keep Wakanda for Wakanda, and he wants to keep Wakanda for Wakandans, right? Keep outside people keep the outside people out, so that they can thrive, right?
Right.
And Killmonger wants to use Wakanda's resources to liberate Black people around the world because they have the means to.
Absolutely.
You on that basis, you can relate to both easily. You know what I mean? Because we're sitting in this, watching this movie, knowing what colonialism is and knowing what it's done, and so it's easy to relate to both. And in a sense, the Ryan Coogler is forcing you to choose. You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you relate to more?
And when it comes down to it, the population of Wakanda wants to keep the status quo because they're already there.
Right.
They're not out in the world struggling and dealing with the difficulties that Black people out in the world are. They're comfortable in their bubble
Right.
that they've created, and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it how it is because they don't have to leave. And I think that's something that I think it's a perspective we have to keep in mind and understand. Like, it's not really sustainable once the word gets out that this place exists with all of these like wealthy and happy and healthy Black people. I think it was a really great setup for a series because I think even as Black people know that life wouldn't be sustainable.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be, because in the sense, like, it's a utopia, right? And like,
but it's not like it's on its own planet away. Like, it's somewhat it's accessible because, I mean, Killmonger made it there, and he's never been before, from what I understood with the movie. It's not like he'd been there before.
Right.
So he somehow, with modern, just American technology, made it to their utopia right in front of people of this land.
Well,
so
I think it was.
Go ahead.
So for me, it was doable. Well, so Killmonger had the manuscripts from his dad, right? So he already had the inside knowledge. His dad gave him the key, which was the thing under his lip or whatever, to get into Wakanda. And to top it all off, I mean, Killmonger was, and I love this about the movie too, they didn't just portray him as a angry Black man. I mean, they
didn't. That's exactly what he was.
No, he was much more.
No, they
was well educated, well trained.
Yeah, he was well educated. He graduated. He went to what was it, Annapolis? Right,
no,
the top tier military.
He went to MIT.
They said he graduated MIT at a very young age.
Yep.
Went to Annapolis, which is the elite, military, and how successful he was as a soldier. You know what I'm saying? So like,
right,
they
but that
framed
don't take
it
away
in
from
a
him not
like,
being an angry Black man, though.
Right, he
that
wasn't just
all he was.
That's exactly my point. That's not all he was. There was a method to his madness. Like, he was angry.
He had a plan.
He was angry.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Right, he had a plan. Exactly. But the thing was, he was just unapologetically him, right? And they got that across. So, most guys that go to MIT or whatever, have that resume or whatever, you wouldn't you might expect them to be more, conservative, more proper, whatever. But like, he was unapologetically him, but he was smart and he had a plan and he knew what he was doing. So I wouldn't say, like, I think it took that combination of things for him to get to Wakanda. Okay. So like, in a sense, they had a world of their own,
Oh,
absolutely. And they were successful for hundreds of years. But the thing is, it's, and I think that's what the movie tries to get at, which I think they do it in a cheap kind of way.
Ooh,
like,
cheap.
Talk
about it. Talk that talk. Cheap ass movie. Go ahead.
At the end, where they so Killmonger wants to, he went full extreme. We gotta what the colonialists did to us.
I'm the king. I'm taking the resources. Burn it all. Ain't gonna be none after me. We're gonna
Now,
redistribute all of these tools and use them as weapons to destroy the oppressors, the colonizers,
right.
the
Exactly.
white
Destroy
people.
the oppressors, decolonizers, do what they did to us. Let's liberate black people. That was Killmonger's goal. They went from liberate black people to T'Challa's little washed down version of let's
Let's
build
all
a
be
center where
friends.
this building used to be, and we're gonna have an outreach program. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you're the Black Panther, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're the Black Panther. Like, you have unlimited resources, like wealth, like technology, all this stuff, and you're gonna have an outreach center. Like, to me,
Yeah.
that was, you know what I'm saying? That was a
It's like
little
a
bit
cop
wild.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was a cop out, and that's the only, like, one of the few little things about it that. But at the same time, I get it. You know, this is a
So,
Marvel
so
movie.
y'all mad that he wanted to start a Big Brother Big Sister program out in Oakland? Y'all mad that he's trying to
Well,
take the
they had to
resource?
tie it up in a little bow. It was the end of the movie. There was only so much they could do
Right.
without basically starting
Exactly.
another movie at the end.
Right.
They tried their
I
best.
I agree with you.
All right.
I completely agree. I was just making that point that
No,
it is soft.
a great
and
point.
you did, and it was comical. You know, I obviously disagree. Regardless, though, I want to end it on this. Basically, kind of like the final discussion point. We want to talk a little bit about the end, and I know again for anybody that's watching right now, it's your own fault. It's been out for a week since the early premiere. So again, Eric Killmonger dies. He fights a lot, but he dies. Black Panther semi dies, but he comes back alive. There's a secret fruit that, for whatever reason, they don't want to replant to grow more, but instead they just give him some of the fruit and then that's it. So, whatever. He's the last Black Panther, I guess. All of these things occur, but there was something that happened amidst the final moments of the film prior to when they start the Big Brother Big Sister program in Oakland, where they talk about Eric Killmonger's death, and basically Black Panther beats him, ultimately beats him. T'Challa beats Eric, and then he carries his body up to a cliff where they can see the sunset, like Lion King type shit, and they look over the vast land, and he says, I want to give you a proper burial because you family, and Eric says, fuck that. He says, I want you to
No,
bury
he
me in
says
the
he says he wants
ocean.
to save. He offers to save him.
Well,
Right.
yeah, you're right. He offers to save him, and he says, "For what? So that y'all can keep me like enslaved for the rest of my life?" Like, nah, because he doesn't feel redeemable at that point, which shows me that he knows that he's heartless. He knows that there's no coming back from this. So then T'Challa goes, "Okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna make sure we give you a proper burial." And
I don't agree
then,
with that. I
and
don't
he,
agree with that.
say it
Oh, he
again.
never.
I couldn't hear
I
you.
don't think it's. I don't think it's. I don't think he said that because he doesn't feel redeemable. He says that. He
Are
says
you
that
serious?
because I don't. I don't think he didn't feel redeemable per se. I think he said it because he knows the. He knows how these people work, and he knows just how systems work. This is a Wakanda's a government,
But babe,
and
if
Yeah.
he
you about to,
was.
but babe, if you about to die, and someone says I can save you, and you say
But
nah,
he knew what his options were. He said it out loud. He knew
Yes.
what his options were.
Exactly.
He's like, perhaps, I mean, I don't think it had anything to do with being redeemable or not. He knew that he was at the mercy of these people if he were to stay alive. And
and
he
you
didn't
think
want to
that
be in a box.
He knew he was left, and they were right, and then nothing was ever going to change for him.
that's a
He
great
knew,
point. Y'all make a great point. I
and
didn't think about that. So you're basically
and
saying that
so
in
with
his
that,
mind, he resolved himself to basically saying, "You're on this side." It's like kind of like the Malcolm and Martin type argument, where two sides of the same coin, but the two sides of a coin can never touch. So
Right.
we're never going to be
yeah, but
aligned.
in this case, I wouldn't say Killmonger is Malcolm X though.
No, I'm just saying, like,
Right?
I'm using it
Okay,
as an analogy.
really, really,
No,
T'Challa's
I'm
Malcolm
not
X.
saying Malcolm X is out here just no, no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are two sides of the same coin, meaning we can never touch. We want to have the same, and the end game for us is the same. We want people to be happy. We want our people to flourish, but our people to T'Challa is the people within Wakanda. Our people to Killmonger is our people abroad. So he's basically kind of saying like, we're not gonna get over this. Like, even if you heal me, I'll probably be right back at your neck the next day. I'm gonna challenge your ass again. I'm gonna try to throw
Yeah.
you off the cliff again. Like, this ain't gonna end well. So when he said, and again, I just want to jump into this so we can get in and get out. At the end, when he talks about being buried in the ocean with his ancestors, with the analogy, or really with the sentiment that he made, which is, I'd rather be with the people who died choosing death, jumping off of the slave ships, which is a questionable fact that still needs some research, but jumping off of the slave ships, knowing that I'm gonna die versus being in bondage. How do y'all feel about that ending as far as the mentality of that American black man? Because to me, and I'm gonna just leave it with this before I let y'all have y'all last words. To me, that's him speaking again from that traditional American black mentality of, he went through and experienced what T'Challa never did. T'Challa grew up and was surrounded by people like him, flourished, thrived, and enjoyed life in a very special way that I think we all wish we could, but we can't, nor can our ancestors. So that was the humanizing part of Eric Killmonger, in my opinion, and that's my last word on it. I'm gonna let y'all go first. To guess, George, what you think about that ending, about being thrown in the
Um,
ocean versus traditional burial, because you'd rather be with those who would rather have death versus dishonor, death versus bondage.
yeah. So I will say it's I don't think it's not a debate. It's not debatable. Like there were people that jumped off the ships to avoid being sold as slaves, right? And so, I think that scene is more of a nod to the plight of Black people um, in America than anything has to do with like Marvel or even the whole like movie in general. Like I think
Okay.
it was purposeful. It was a purposeful effort to put that line in there to kind of tie in the relatability of Killmonger to the plight of Black people and their history. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. And so that's what that was, and I don't think it should be taken as any more than that. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
So you
Yeah.
saying there's kind of like some respect and some beauty in the simplicity of that.
Yeah, it's a nod.
Yeah.
It was a nod
Yeah. And I
for
think, I mean, Marvel was well
other.
aware of their audience for this film. They knew that there were going to be packed theaters full of black and brown faces that wanted to be spoken to. Like I went into that movie expecting for that movie to speak to me, not to me and my white friends, not to me and my girlfriends or anything. I wanted a movie that was going to speak to me and my blackness. And I think that was just one of many ways that this movie made sure that we connected with it. I think it's a strong marketing tactic for Marvel. They knew who their audience was, but I think it was also very intentional for the people both in front of the camera and behind the scenes for this movie to make sure, even at the end, when one of the characters was dying, that we understood what he stood for and that we could, sympathize and identify with it.
All right.
Mhm.
I agree with that. So, with all that being said, last word, like I said, for me, great film, solid 8.59 out of 10. A couple of scriptural changes. A couple,
How do you say a solid 8.5?
a solid
What is that?
8.5
No,
out
you
of
keep
10.
changing, bro. You
Yeah.
went from 9.6 to like
Right.
9 to
Hey,
8.5.
You don't know how you
hey,
felt about it.
respect,
You don't
respect,
know.
respect your boy. I want to thank y'all both for joining in. I want to last words. Anything you want to share with the people who may be watching right now? And as far as watching right now, I just want to make sure I do a quick roll call for the people that did join in tonight, and I appreciate them. Tanja Harden, Will Pan, Chalita Savi, Nurse Betty, Tony Cherrett, Jeff Morgan, my bro. There's SB3 CEO Roderick Lipsy, John Allen, Rob Davis, my bro, Drew Trotter, Darian Lipsy, and Brandon Lewis. Everybody, we love and appreciate y'all. I want to give my people You know, they last words. So, babe, I know you got something coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. Speak on that.
Yeah. Tonight I'm going to be going live on Instagram, TL Yarncraft. But the very last word that I wanted to give, and because I think as Black people, it's important for us to make sure this doesn't get lost in the conversation. I think it's very important for us to recognize how many beautiful Black female faces there were in this movie. How many? Hey, and that's the problem. Love you to death. But
No,
that's
we
the
gonna
problem.
talk about it. We gonna talk
No,
about it.
no, but we didn't though, and I think it was a huge conversation that needs to be had
And we will.
among all the other topics of this movie. And
And
I
we
just want to
will.
say that as a Black female, I recognize that. It stood out to me immediately, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
All right, and I respect your opinion, babe. And we are definitely going to do a deeper dive. I want to be respectful for everyone's time. Tonight was more so an intro. We could finally talk details of the film and kind of spoil it for those that didn't have the wherewithal to donate their funds to drive up those numbers. So, you know, I hope this spoiled it for somebody, at least one person out there. George, the big homie, big bro, last words on the film and your opinion before we knock this thing out.
I mean, it was a great movie. If you haven't had a chance to see it, definitely see it. It's huge for the culture, and I mean, I don't have enough words for what it means for us as a Black people to have a movie like that. So if you can support it,
so now it's us as a Black people. So now it's us.
I gotta go.
All right, y'all.
Yeah, I agree.
Think It Out Loud podcast, TOL podcast.com, Facebook Live. Thank you very much. Thank you, George. Thank you, bro. Thank you, baby. Mrs. Lip. And say it, babe.
We out. Bye.
We out.